Hello everyone, welcome on Synerise Smart Session. Today's topic, mobile campaigns with special focus on our new development, in-app messages. Today with me, special guests, Mateusz Skowronek from MODIVO Group, formerly known as Eobuwie.
Hello everyone.
And Sławomir Zdżyłowski from Synerise CSI department.
Hello.
Okay guys, so maybe a short introduction from your side. Let's start with Mateusz.
Hello everyone, I'm heading CRM department within MODIVO Group. Together with Synerise, we are working across marketing automation and campaign management since 2018, so it's been nearly 5 years.
Yeah, I remember our beginning there. Frankly speaking, Eobuwie was the first company who introduced our recommendation engine system. So we know each other for a couple of years. We have introduced a lot of features. We were collaborating with feature product development as well. So our team has a great, experience regarding collaboration, and we both benefit from this perspective as well, right?
I can add, I think we've been testing some of the new functionalities from Synerise since then, and this is also why we are things so ahead of other companies in some fields, because Synerise allows us to test and to work with the newest developments, and sometimes we have access to features that they're not still on the market, but we can already deploy them.
Yeah, and we also benefit from that because our product team can work with your expert from your side in order to polish our requirements, right? And to eventually make our product even better, right? So we enjoy this kind of relationship, and we also, we are extremely happy that you have the courage to test some new features, new enhancements of our platform, especially in this AI field, right? Because it is always a novelty, like for instance recommendation models or prediction models. So we have a lot here in common, and we all have this experimentational mindset that we want just to drive additional business results together, right? So that's regarding the history of our companies and our previous collaboration, right? So we really appreciate your involvement also in driving our roadmaps in some extent, right? Sławomir, can you tell me something more about your role within Synerise?
I'm in Synerise I'm already for 3 years, and currently I'm a member of CSI team. So together with Mateusz, I have a pleasure to implement, to integrate and launch new campaigns, to create new ideas, also with our product team. So today we would like to talk about in-apps. So this is something which you mentioned before, and this is one of those features that we created together, we can say. And I had also pleasure to participate in that, and that is my current role in the company.
You are a little bit too shy. You also participated in implementation phase as well, right?
Indeed, yes.
Okay, before we jump into specific features related to mobile campaigns, can you tell me a little bit more about what kind of features and how you're actually using Synerise?
Let's maybe start with a bit of the context. So first of all, the mobile communication for us has been growing for months or even years, and what we see now is that the mobile apps play a pivotal role within the communication space and allow us to reach customers in many different ways that we couldn't do before. Hence, functionalities like in-app messages give us opportunity to provide customer with the message at the right touch point where customer is, and with the right content and in the right time. So I think in-app messages play an important role within this mobile communication space. So I think mobile for us means first of all that we want to be mobile first in many different fronts. And from the CRM point of view, the communication is mobile communication is of a growing importance, and we see that we have more touch points to monetize within the mobile area. Hence, those functionalities will allow us to engage customer much more and to monetize this relationship, right?
Okay, so in general, from your strategic standpoint, mobile channel has increased drastically during a couple of last years. Is that true?
So the mobile channel has increased in different ways, right? So the importance of this channel has increased in different ways. First of all, it increased its share in our revenue and transactions, right? We see that in some markets we have even up to 50% of our transactions or users who daily or monthly they use mobile apps, right? From our point of view, the communication point of view, or my department point of view, we also see that mobile has become one of the key channels of communication, right? And as we see from our databases, we see that number of mobile users is growing 3 times faster as number of email subscribers, right? So going forward, this will be a much bigger base.
Yeah, and we also see this trend among the whole industry, right? Because in Synerise we also have seen that for the first time in our history, during Black Week, we had more mobile users than web users. That it was first time in our history that we seen this trend, you know, and hitting those numbers. That was something new for us also as well. And that was also the reason, what is also a reason, why we are also investing as a product into those types of campaigns in order to reach and enhance our mobile capabilities as well. That was also the reason why we wanted to improve our platform by adding those new types of campaigns, in-app campaigns. So, Sławek, can you tell a little bit more regarding the functionality itself?
Well, in-app messages in general, it's a feature that allows us to create any content really and display it in mobile application. Thanks to that, thanks to Synerise panel, we can easily manage, edit some scenarios, starting from very basic and to more advanced, and even without coding knowledge, we're able to launch any campaign, which is really important in nowadays as we are decreasing drastically our time to market, as a normal marketing person is able to launch any campaign, and we are not dependent from IT or any other team. In contrast to push notification, in-app messages are pulled by user devices through the Synerise SDK, which is quite important here because it's giving us much more possibilities and let us build much more precise scenarios. That is the main reason why we're able also to reach much more people and target precisely to define audience by us.
So, Sławomir, what are the main differences between already existing push messages and our new communication channel in-app messages? Can you name a few of them?
Well, I think there are 3 main differences. The first one is the difference of notifying client or showing the notification, which means that in contrast to push notifications, in-app messages are pulled by user devices through Synerise SDK, which means we are not dependent from any tokens, from any different applications.
Consents as well?
So you mentioned consent, right? It's my number 2. In my opinion, it's giving much bigger opportunities to reach bigger target group. Thanks to that, we are not dependent from agreements of the client. Here we are dependent only from Synerise platform, and also we are able to reach our recognized and unrecognized users. The third component, the third reason why in-app messages are much more better than push notification is fact that we are able to define where exactly our message should be displayed for client. We are not dependent from Firebase, but here we are defining exactly which event or which parameter even should trigger our campaign, which is giving us much more reliable scenarios. And thanks to that, we can really count on this feature.
Yeah, and in comparison also with push messages, this is something that we can attract customers where they are actually in the application itself, right? So when it comes to push messages, you can communicate with a customer who has not opened their application and drag them into this application. But once they are there, then you have a whole great possibilities of in-app messages to run a specific scenarios or use cases within the app, right? So that is also a main difference, and also show why those kind of campaigns can work together.
Exactly, and this is also the business point of view that push notification's role is to bring traffic to mobile app, while in-app messages are aimed to boost conversion while the user is already in the app, right? So they play two different roles. However, as you mentioned, they are complementary. But I would also mention that what is important is to look at not only at the push or in-app message, but look at the whole customer journey, because sometimes we have journeys that start with email and then go to the mobile app, right? So we need to look holistically at the customer journey, and then the in-app messages was something that was definitely missing, right? So plugging this gap, I think, is very important for the Synrise platform and for us as clients.
It's related to my next question, right? Why this type of campaign was so important from your perspective, right? Because we were collaborating in terms of product requirements, design, etc., together with you and your team. But I would like to understand and to show also to the public why it was so important from your perspective to also have that within the Synrise platform.
So I think that there are two different reasons, right? One is a business reason, and this business reason is because when you look at the web, for example, right, you have multiple opportunities to display content to the user when the user is browsing on the website. You have pop-up messages, right? You have widgets, you have recommendation modules, etc. While the user goes into the app, then we lacked this feature to show customers something that we wanted this customer to see. Hence, the need to deploy in-app messages in order to boost the conversion rates, but also to make customers take actions that we wanted them to take. And the second reason is operational, as Sławek mentioned. We wanted to have a feature that will be very fast when it comes to time to market, right? So a communication that we could deploy within the mobile app, but with a much faster speed that we can do it now on the web, and much faster than it's usually done through like ingested dynamic content or any other type of communication. And in-app messages allow us to do this, hence we can deploy campaigns much faster.
And in this particular case, you don't need your mobile team to be engaged with creating some kind of banners, some kind of recommendation within the platform. You can only navigate and create all those campaigns directly from Synrise, right? So this additional benefit. Also from my perspective, from product perspective, as I mentioned before, right? Mobile channel is growing across the industry. We are aware of that, so that's why it was, from our perspective, it was a good step to collaborate together to build this feature, because it was, or mobile is one of our strategic goals for years to come, right? So that's why we put it into the roadmap, and you had the opportunity also give your feedback on your expectations regarding what should be there. Additional point that was important from my perspective to give a great flexibility regarding the in-app campaigns, right? So apart from standard simple layouts, we have more advanced editors that create enormous number of potential use cases, including all the personalized stuff we can get there. For instance, recommendations, search, any attributes or customer data to show and personalize those specific messages. That was also important from my perspective as a product, to have as flexible solution as possible, but also to give you an opportunity to deploy those scenarios as fast as possible, right? So that was also my perspective when developing this stuff. Tell me something about the use cases that you think those kind of communication channel can utilize this specific feature. Do you have any ideas regarding, first of all, what you're doing right now, and maybe broader, what types of use cases you would like to, launch in a couple of months, maybe?
So first of all, we're using in-app messages for a single type use cases, mostly based on customer events within the mobile app. So we have identified a list of potential use cases based on the volumes of events we are getting within the mobile app, and we are deploying them one by one. And the second type of use case is where we wanted to use in-app messages within the customer journey. So, for example, if you look at the customer lifecycle, say onboarding journey, right? So you would like to onboard customer when the customer joins your ecosystem. You would like to onboard this customer with different type of communication, and in-app message is one of those types of communication that will play a role within this customer journey.
Okay, so Sławomir, you are working with multiple customers, also helping Mateusz in implementation of Synrise within MODIVO Group, but also from your broader perspective, what kind of use cases do you see now being popular with this specific feature?
I think what is important and what we need to mention is that in-app messages is an open tool, right? So there we have 3 code blocks, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And thanks to that, it's really up to customer, it's up to scenario, what kind of scenario we would like to run. So, for example, if there is a marketing team that he's launching some basic stuff like pop-ups, then we have already created predefined templates where the only thing we need to change is the layout, for example, or just to change the photo. So this is like the most basics commonly used. However, there are also different scenarios, such as abandoned cart, for example, some kind of price drops, for example, or visual search also. We could also already implemented, which is worth to mention, I think. It really depends from the client, because each client has different needs.
And I think if I can just add to that, I think that the real power of in-app messages will come when you combine this form of communication with another feature such as recommendations, for example, right? And when you bundle them together, this is where the impact comes from, right?
Exactly. And one use case that I seen implemented in one of our clients was, in fact, implementing search engine into application via in-app messages, so without the need to change the application itself, right? And it was amazing, right? So within a couple of hours, in fact, we were able to implement Synrise AI search into mobile application without changing the code of application.
Yes, it's quite important for cost saving. Imagine that client has a lot of markets. To save costs and to check how the specific campaign is performing, for example, search, as you mentioned. We are able to create one quick campaign based on in-apps, and thanks to that we are able to check our performance. Because what we need to mention also is that all the statistics is being built by us. So we are able to check the performance of our campaign just in Synrise on our events. But I think we'll go through this point, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go through it. Sławomir, tell us a little bit more about the integration process.
From client perspective, for example, it's quite easy, I think, because as we were doing this together with MODIVO, we didn't have so much issues, if I can say. From client side, it's just few methods, because of that most of the requests are made by us, by our SDK, and thanks to that, most of the work we need to do is really in Synrise platform.
I think Sławek is completely right. So if we compare this implementation with other features, let's say, it was extremely fast. So we deployed this functionality within a few weeks. It was ready to go. This is what I think clients will value.
I think what is important here to remember, rather than implementing just a simple in-apps, is to prepare our application for scenarios, right? Because as I mentioned before, here we are able to define which event, even the funnel into the specific parameter, should be a trigger.
And you are mentioning that because of the triggering logic, right?
Yeah.
So can you elaborate a little bit about the triggers within the in-app, how it is, shown to the customer on which event, how it can be, set up?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, in-app messages are pulled by user devices through Synrise SDK. So thanks to that, we are able to define really in Synrise panel, obviously, which is completely user-friendly and without any code knowledge, we are able to define exactly which event will trigger our campaign, right? Our in-app messages campaign. So as we have correctly integrated application with Synrise, based on that we are creating our campaign. We are really able to create, for example, such notification top bars. So imagine that I add something to the cart. So based on, for example, on this event, I can show my in-app message for the client that, hey, you just added something to your cart. So imagine how much time it takes for a development team to test, to develop in application, and how it works in Synrise. It's a couple of days, and we have already such big thing in our application.
Yeah, so from this standpoint, I believe that before customer would like to integrate those type of campaigns, a good step before that would be to try to think about potential scenarios in order to figure out whether there are already all the events that will be needed as the triggers for those campaigns already implemented within the app. That was also the case in this scenario, right?
Yeah, I think that we should work really in parallel to integrate our in-app messages and in the same time think about what we have currently, and maybe some other events, maybe some other parameters it's worth to integrate with Synrise. For example, some transactions we would like to add, some brands, we would like to add some vouchers and distribute via in-apps. So to be able to create those scenarios, we need to have this base of integration.
Exactly. But it is still less in comparison to other types of integrations, like for instance, push messages, etc., because there are only two methods that needs to be implemented. So from this perspective, it is also cost effective when it comes to a mobile development team, right? And on the other hand, there are multiple things that you have already mentioned, that we cover all the statistics, all the things related to displaying the whole content within the app, including links, deep links, etc., etc. So, frankly speaking, it is also very important that it does not necessarily require a lot of involvement of development team, which is always a problem, right?
Absolutely. No-code access to, or low-code access to in-app module is one of the key advantages when it comes to similar solutions in the market. And I would also add that when you combine the triggering capabilities with the visual builder, this is where you have this flexibility to create as many scenarios as you can based on the events you integrate, and with the look as you wish it will look like, based on this visual builder, which gives you unlimited possibilities.
Remember also that we are talking about Synrise, so it's omni-channel tool, right? Once we have a proper integration, we are able to use also events from web, from POS, from POS, and thanks to that, we are able also to aggregate those data and use it in our in-app messages communication, which is crucial in current days.
Yeah, this is great. So imagine that you have a customer who enters a shop, and this customer transacts, and a few seconds later he gets an in-app message within his mobile app, right?
With some vouchers, for example.
With some vouchers, and this is where you have this customer journey thinking coming in place, where you have to look at different touch points and how the customer interacts with those touch points.
Or you can even have a trigger of a specific, for instance, transaction combined with push messages, which will lead to a specific in-app campaign, right? You can have even more sophisticated scenario also regarding offline to online, right? So in this particular case, with all the capabilities of Synrise platform, we can definitely build very complex customer journeys within the platform, right? So this is also an important word to mention, that even though we are discussing the mobile capabilities, they are such big because we have ability to collect all the data for the customer with our custom data platform, run our automations within which we can have, for instance, push messages, and at last stage, we can display, for instance, recommendations for already bought items within the app, even when the customer is still in store.
Exactly, and this cross-channel thinking is key, because remember that in-app messages, they don't work, they don't have impact when the customer is not in the mobile app, right?
Exactly.
So you need to make customer come or visit the mobile app, and this is where the in-app messages can be monetized.
Okay. So you mentioned monetization, right? So I guess you have some preliminary results of in-app campaigns. Can you tell something more about the impact of those kind of new types of campaigns?
Well, we see great engagement metrics, right? So this we can say already that this form of communication is very engaging for customer. And this is where its power comes from, because the customer who visits mobile app is already engaged, and communicating with the customer who is engaged creates more engagement. Hence, we see that out of 3 customers, they go through the in-app messages, they click on it, and they go to the next step in the funnel. We also see some uplift in conversion. So we hope that with additional scenarios, we'll be able to really impact the conversion rates in the mobile app.
Okay, Sławek, I would like to ask you about the flexibility of the solution, because this is something that from product perspective was extremely important to have as flexible solution as possible. But I would like to ask you, as a member of customer success implementation team, how it works in practice and how it expand the capabilities of what's possible within the specific model.
going through this Synrise way of thinking that we are creating as open tool as possible for the client, because we are like going through the multi-brands and going through really all industries. The in-app messages gives us really unlimited possibilities to create campaigns. Like the basic, which we have. It's similar to dynamic content, right? We have 3 code blocks where we are easily able to define any kind of campaign and ask for any, I don't know, component from Synrise, which is also we can create some additional events, I don't know, to Google, for example, which is also commonly used by clients. But also we have something like coverage for those 3 blocks, which is a visual builder. So if we would like to just create some simple campaigns, for example, someone from marketing would like to create some pop-ups, some notification bar, and then thanks to our predefined templates or also by our visual builder, we're able to create our campaign just by drag and drop style. So it really depends from what kind of scenarios we would like to create and how much time we have. For example, Mateusz will say at 8 a.m. That he wants to run some campaign and someone has 15 minutes. Then, if this is possible enough, we can do it.
And you have mentioned also that creating this kind of campaign is extremely easy from one perspective, but from the other perspective, there is also a lot of customization that can be done, right? And within that, one of the main features or capabilities of in-app campaigns is an ability to add personalized content within this message. Can you elaborate about those kind of capabilities?
Yeah. So as we know, Synrise is an omni-channel tool, so we are really supporting each kind of marketing segment, at least we are trying to. So in-app messages lets us to create some starting from basic inserts, like for example name, going through more...
Or all, in fact, all customer attributes, right?
Exactly. All attributes from client's card, but also we can use any component from Synrise. For example, vouchers, promotions, I know some catalogs that we would like to create more advanced integration. We mentioned before about AI campaign, so we can create some listings for the client personalized. We can create A/B test, for example, that we would like to check different way of settings of AI campaign, which is crucial for such big clients as they want to make A/B tests for several scenarios. So really in-app messages giving us unlimitedly personalization, which is already in Synrise. Also we can use automation to generate some kind of event for several scenarios.
I think this testing that you mentioned is really important because, of course, you have the broad scope of possibilities to customize the in-app messages and to add more content in there. But at the end of the day, you need to test them with clients, with customers, and to see which one have really impact, because not all of them possibly will work within in-app messages, right?
And measuring make them easily. So in Synrise, in-app messages, we have already predefined some basic statistics, but also we can use fully our analytics module, create a dashboard for the specific campaign, and quickly create some amendments or start new campaign and new A/B tests.
Exactly, and I think if you just take like a dragonfly view, is the in-app messages is one of those type of features deployed and run in a very modern way. So you have very iterative development. So together with customer, we as customer, you as vendor, together we develop a feature, we deploy it fast, and then we have ability to test it with different scenarios. We have the flexibility to set it up. So I think that this kind of feature, if we are able to make sure we develop features like this in the future, then I think that will work well.
We have discussed personalization capabilities of this specific feature, but now I would like to ask Mateusz about the general impact of personalization on this specific channel. Can you elaborate a little bit? What is your approach toward this problem?
So personalization is absolutely high importance for us. As such, this is probably one of the most important things on our agenda as a business. And if you combine personalization with mobile app, this becomes even more important. What we see, for example, within our automated push messages is that the click-through rate is much higher than not personalized push messages, right? The same stands for in-app messages, and this plays a role within the mobile space because our aim is to create different mobile app for everyone, for each of our customer. So we want customers to have a unique personalized experience within the mobile app. With in-app messages, we can plug in the data we collect from customers and personalize this touch point according to each customer, or even unique visit of this customer.
Okay, a question for you, Mateusz. How you perceive the whole mobile communication channel in your brand strategy?
So first of all, mobile channel becomes increasingly important, I believe not only for us, but for any e-commerce business. What we see is that our customers become mobile first, hence our strategy shifts its focus to mobile app. And also from the CRM point of view, we see that our mobile users base is growing much faster than the email subscriber base. Hence, we are putting much more focus on that channel.
What are the differences in behavior on mobile application versus desktop?
So for us mobile users, first of all, they show higher conversion rates, and they also repeat their visits more often than non-mobile users. That's why one of our goals is to shift as many customers as we can into the mobile app and to increase our footprint when it comes to communication, to be able to communicate with those customers in many different ways, many different channels, not only the push messages that we send, but also exactly in-app messages, also different types of communication, like inbox messages, and also SMS, of course.
I guess that we can all agree that having a great communication channel combined with personalization capabilities is something that businesses will try to implement, because eventually it brings a better customer experience, which result in better conversion rates and ultimately bigger revenue, right? So that was also the idea which came to our mind, where we decided to build this new way of communicating with customers within mobile application, right? So that was also something very important from a product perspective, and my team was had this in mind when developing this type of functionality. Okay, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure to speak with you and discuss all the topics related to mobile application, personalization, and specifically regarding in-app messages. It was a pleasure to meet you. So thank you very much, everyone, and see you soon.